Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth here from the beautiful, historic Atwater Library, where today we're going to get a chance to meet all three candidates running for the position of Mayor of Westmount. So let's begin. First of all, I'm Aaron Rand from CJD, along with Bill Brownstein of the Montreal Gazette, Mary Gallery, Michael Stern, Lynne Casgrain, all running for mayor. And Bill, I'm going to turn this over to you to start because I mentioned we're at the Atwater Library. This is kind of one of the key issues in this campaign.
This is one of the major issues of this campaign. It's been a real potboiler because there's plans that have been approved to develop the area around here with 4 20-story towers. There was a petition of over 1,000 who wanted to postpone this decision, which was made to wait till the new administration came in. And the library itself feels threatened because it feels it will be dwarfed. It feels that any kind of structures, 420-story towers have been proposed, could threaten its not just its livelihood in terms of being dwarfed, but also in terms of structural ability to withstand that. It's on a waterbed and all the rest. So the key question right now is, I mean, this has been approved by the outgoing city council. What are your plans and what are your feelings about the future of this library since we are here? Mary, I'll get you to go first.
Okay, great. Thank you both, Aaron and Bill, for inviting me to the corner booth. I'm thrilled to be here. Yes, the PPU, the Projet Particulier Urbain, that we've worked on for the last 2 years, was a zoning change that was approved in September. The purpose of this zoning change was to revitalize this sector that is in an absolute dilapidated state. It is unacceptable, it is dangerous, there's crime. We have seniors who no longer want to walk to Alexis Neon. We have young people who don't want to take the metro in the sector, at the Atwater Metro. So we came up, well, we worked for 2 years on this, the zoning change, the Projet Particulier Urbain, and it was passed, so we came up with a solution. This is a solution that the next council, we have a tangible document to work with to revitalize the sector. Yes, the Atwater Library is an important building in the sector, of course it is, but heritage and new builds can live and coexist together. It's an opportunity for the city to make this area safer, revitalized, and welcoming to all. So I'm in favor of the PPU that was passed. As your future mayor, I will hopefully onboard excellent projects that integrate into our city, and construction will be communicated and integrated with all the residents and buildings, and of course the Atwater Library.
I should mention, by the way, that Mary is a councillor right now in one of the boroughs in Westmount. But more to the point, in terms of this library has been around since 1919. Right. It's concerns about being structurally unable to withstand any kind of development here. It's on a waterbed. What are your thoughts on that?
Construction beside heritage buildings takes place in every city of the world. We will do everything we can to ensure that it is done with sound engineering plans. Everything will be checked with our PAC. We have our own urban planning department, and we've done this before, and we will continue to do it. I've looked in the lane. I've seen what's around here. We must move forward. We must revitalize this sector.
If I can ask, because I think there's a bit of a division here. So Lynn, with respect to this project, where are you on this?
Well, the PPU is now passed, so we have to make the best of it. But I have to say that I was very disappointed that the PPU would be passed without actually worrying about the infrastructure that would go with it, not even an idea. I'm not talking about a precise cost of the infrastructure, but a price for the infrastructure. That's number one. Number two, we all know that even though the PPU has passed and there will be a project or 2 or 3, we still worry about how safe the area is. So is there an interim plan in order to clean up the area, to address the humanitarian crisis that is on our street and spreading? And you know, Montreal and Westmount is not the only place with this humanitarian crisis. But can we address this in collaboration with the City of Montreal, with the CIUS du Centre-Ouest, address that issue and have a plan, a transitional interim plan, to make sure that between now and the first shovel in the ground, which could take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, can we make sure that we clean up the street, that we have street furniture there, that we could even have food trucks, permit food trucks there, and have Dawson students be excited about food trucks, as we all know.
Yeah.
So can we make this place safe and walkable for everybody in the interim? But there was no interim plan that we could see, and we do worry about the infrastructure. Will we need a new substation for the electricity? This is a concern.
Okay. I want to, if I can, to explain to our viewers, you both have political backgrounds. Mary, you're in council now. You have a long political history as well. Lynne, Michael, you're the newcomer here, an accountant by trade, running for mayor. Why did you decide to run for mayor of Westmount?
Well, I see that Westmount is at a crossroads. We've seen a serious deterioration on a lot of things, and a lot of work has to be done in the area of infrastructure, safety, services. And I believe that the skills that are required now are the skills that I have. I was a partner with Ernst & Young, the accounting firm, where I held many leadership roles. I have extensive experience in financial matters, management matters. I'm also a graduate of the Institute of Corporate Directors. I'm a CPA. I've worked with entrepreneurs my whole life. And I ran businesses even after Ernst & Young. I was a chief financial officer of several companies, one after the other. And one of them was similar in size to Westmount in terms of number of employees. And there, everyone in the organization reported to me, other than the owners, including the legal department. So I have extensive experience in financial matters, financial statements, budgeting. I know how to get things done. I know how to work with people. That's through my work as an accountant all these years. And another thing is a firm that I come from, Ernst & Young, was very focused on people first all the time. So I always get consensus. I'm able to work with people, big groups of people, to get things done.
Michael, but in terms of the development plan, I mean, it's not just structural issues here. Also, I think your team is, Lynne's team that is worried about the high density with these 420-story high rises will bring to the area. What are your thoughts on the redevelopment?
So the redevelopment, the way it was zoned before, obviously was not economic, and that's why no builder came forward and said, I want to build something, because they can't make money at 8 stories or whatever it was. So it's clear that's something that had to be done. And I mean, there could have been things done differently, perhaps. Maybe they weren't ready to vote on it, like some of the things that are perhaps could have been done. Instead of having an architectural plan from one firm, you could have had like a concourse inviting all kinds of architects to come forward and come up with different plans. We didn't look at, as Lynne pointed out, we didn't even look at the infrastructure, what is needed in terms of water, supply, electricity, and if anything is needed, what will it cost and who will pay for it? And so my plan would be, we have this passed now, so my plan would be, if becoming mayor, firstly, I would still look at the fact that there were a lot of unhappy people, and you can't please everybody, but let's look at some of their comments to see if anything else could be incorporated. I would look at the infrastructure. That could be done right away, figure out what we need. Can we get some government assistance from other levels of government? What's the profitability to return to the city? But what I would really do, I think it's really important now that it's zoned and builders, developers will come forward, we have to incentivize them, but we have to know what we want. So I would put together, there's a lot of smart architects and engineers who live in the city of Westmount, and many are friends of mine. They would help for free and get their opinions, and so we can determine what do we want in terms of green space, in terms of parking, in terms of the design. We don't want it to look as Griffintown. And do we want an indoor pool to be here, available to everybody? We have to determine with our experts what we want, so that when developers come forward and say, I want to build, we want to incentivize it, but at the same time, you want to build, we'll let you build this, but you have to do that and pay for it, or pay for half of it.
All right, I want to go, I realize we're kind of focusing on this particular issue, given that we're in the Atwater Library. There are other issues, obviously, in Westmount. There was a pretty damning editorial by Peter Trent, former mayor of Westmount, on expenses that the city has vis-a-vis other municipalities. Despite a declining population, salaries, I mean, they're off the chart literally for employees, for administrators. I would imagine that maybe is the kind of thing you hear when you go door to door and talk to citizens here. What do you hear, Mary?
So yes, I'm well aware that a lot of people read the Montreal Gazette, and I'd just like to highlight the fact that Peter Trent has cherry-picked many of these numbers to suit a narrative that is very outdated. So when it comes to employee numbers that he suggests we are a bloated bureaucracy, we are not. We've had to pivot to year 2025. We had to add people to our services in urban planning, communication, IT. We had the cyber attack. We were ill prepared. We've had infrastructure, lack of maintenance throughout the city for decades. We've had to invest in our maintenance team. And many of the employees were auxiliary employees who were turned into full-time employees by the union laws, and it was the right thing to do. So there was not the chart he suggests is inaccurate and incomplete, and especially in today's context, and needs to provide excellent services to our residents.
But Mary, he also compares Westmount to the other municipalities, and it's not using the same base of statistics, and Westmount still comes out like in terms of not only salaries, the number of people employed, the populations, and so on and so forth. And Journal de Montréal also has covered it on that level. And I mean, it would be one thing but he's using those same numbers for all the municipalities, and Westmount doesn't fare well on that chart.
Well, as your future mayor, I pledge to do a full audit of every employee in every department and ensure that he or she is doing what they're supposed to do and delivering the services we need and justify their position. If there is extra or fat in the system, we will be sure to look at it. But there's an expectation for our residents to have the services that we provide.
I would ask Lynne the same question to Bill's point. Is this a problem when you look at other municipalities vis-a-vis what Westmount is spending?
Well, I think it is a problem. And I think that even though the numbers seem to have increased, maybe not as much as Peter Trent wrote, but they have increased undeniably. Have the services increased? And if I go door to door, and I've been doing door to door for the last 6 weeks, and I have to tell you, everybody tells me, I would say 90% of the people tell me that the services have declined. So what are we going to do with this? First of all, I'd certainly like to know why we increased that number of employees, but I'd also like to see if it is an increase that is not, that should not have been done, then can we, through attrition, working with human resources and working with the directorates, can we diminish those numbers through attrition, because it's a human problem and you don't want to throw people out on the street like that, certainly not at this time of year.
Michael, you're the accountant. What do you say about all of this?
Yes, so I've seen that. I've looked at it. And again, I'm not on the inside, but this is what I know. I've looked at the city of TMR, which has the same number of people as us, has 230 employees. We have 352. That's 50% more. Yes, we have an additional service. We have our own hydro. There's probably 30 people. But it would seem to indicate that we have a lot of people, maybe more than we need. I've been told also by employees on the inside who I happen to bump into tell me things are very disorganized. There's a lot more management staff that have been hired. There's less work for the employees. There's more subcontracting work outside. The employees are discouraged. Now, I take the opinion from everything I know, working with so many organizations, clients, and the firm. Generally, everywhere in the world, from what I know, employees want to do a good job and they want to be proud of it.
I agree.
And I don't think they're quite proud of it. I think they need a little bit more guidance from leadership. They need more support. The first thing I would do is try to we must have a job description for everybody.
Yes.
And if we are overstaffed, which does look likely, at least let's get the most out of these people. Let's work with them and do things properly. Maintenance is terrible everywhere. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, you look at in Westmount Park, there's a bathroom structure. It's a brick building, so it's outdated on the inside, the tiles, that's fine. but we'll get to it eventually, I guess. But the front door is a beautiful old wood door. There's two, one for men, one for women, boys and girls, and they're rotting. We have maintenance people. Why don't they do that? Maintenance people know how to fix things. I don't, but maintenance people know how to do that. The roads don't last as long as they should because we live in a rock. It's nobody's fault, but the hot, the cold, you have cracks in all the streets, so we can't do all the streets all at once, but at least the cracks should be fixed. It's easy to fix that by a maintenance person to seal the crack. They don't seal the cracks, water gets in. So my view would be, let's mobilize the employees that we do have, even if there are too many, to get to do more work. Let's get their ideas. I bet you they have great ideas of how to make things better for Westmounters, and work with this team of people we do have and get them to be fully employed, fully engaged with some leadership and help from us.
Mary, would you be open, as Michael is suggesting, to an audit at least to see what's going on?
Of course, we should absolutely know everybody in every department. But what I'd like to say regarding the infrastructure and all the work ahead of us, when I was first elected, City Hall was leaking, the windows were boarded up, the masonry was held together by vines, the greenhouse was in disrepair. We have 50 kilometers of roads to take care of, which means 100 kilometers of sidewalks, 13 parks, 22 green spaces, 26 municipal buildings, including the chalets in the park that you're referring to. So there's no shortage of infrastructure work ahead of us.
You know, we used to make fun, we still do, of the city of Montreal being like Coney Island, and I've never seen anything like that take place in Westmount, but for the last almost year, everywhere you go, Wood Avenue, St. Catherine, Sherbrooke, there's been construction everywhere, orange cones everywhere, and like Michael points out, I mean, the sidewalks, I know the infrastructure is a problem, but some of these construction projects are taking months and months, and it's something that I don't think Westmounters, from what I've heard, are quite experienced in dealing with.
Well, I've heard very positive feedback in the reconstruction of Sherbrooke Street. Forden is about to finish, as is Claremont, and I'd like to remind residents that we have 5 months of the year to do the work and spread it out through our entire territory and get a lot of the work done. And I'd just like to add regarding the employees, we have very dedicated employees. And as your mayor, I'm the only one who has a relationship with every director in every department, who knows the issues and knows the opportunities ahead of us. So I can get going much quicker on all this critical work starting on November 3rd.
I want to shift to something else that's very important, not just in Westmount, but in the city as well, although I think we're kind of in ground zero here, and that's public protests. There have been, we're just literally across the street from the Israeli consulate, from Wood Avenue. That seems to be ground zero. I'd like to know what your positions are, because I think they're a little different with respect to public security. How do we handle these things going forward? Lynne, let's start with you.
So I think we all believe in public security, and I think every resident in Westmount should feel secure and safe walking around, going into their homes or getting out of their homes. So I think basically we all agree. The issue is certainly that it's the city of Westmount, the city of Montreal, the agglomeration that receives 52% of our taxes and revenues, that is in charge of the police. However, we can certainly lobby the new mayor who's coming in. We can certainly, I would reach out to the Minister of Public Security in Quebec and be happy to have those discussions, because I think everybody has a problem with demonstrations that stop residents from going back home or that impede the work of our commercial partners that we have in our city, because the commerce and the merchants in our city are just as important as the citizens. We all depend upon each other. So we need to also ensure and bolster public security in certain areas when we have this. We also need to warn the population when there is an issue. So I think we are all on the same page in terms of we need to ensure proper security for all our residents.
Michael, I'll have you weigh in on this as well.
Yes. So it's been a big issue for everyone. Everyone deserves to feel safe and secure. And we all recognize there's a right of free speech in Canada. Canadian law allows people to demonstrate. However, the behavior of the protesters is often beyond that. We have to balance the needs of those people who want to protest with those who live in the area. I'm determined, and I never fail at anything I am determined at, to make it safe for everyone. There are ways, things that can be done. I think a big issue will be the new mayor of the City of Montreal. As was indicated, there are 3 candidates. Soroya seems to be the front runner. I haven't met with the other 2, but I have met with her and impressed upon her, and she seen the need for change and help by the police, and she seemed very receptive to my comments. So we have to balance the needs, and we have to make sure people are safe. And one small thing I want to do, and I think it's a big difference, is to have some public security or police on foot or on bicycles more than what we have now in the busy areas. That would be where the stores are, Victoria, Sherbrooke, and Green Avenue. Public security, when they pass, they can in a car they can't see very much, it's a second. But when you have people on foot, they develop a rapport with the store owners, they see the people, and hopefully they can stop troublemakers at any time. There's a lot of other issues. There's people following people into banks and getting their bank information. There's car thefts. There's break-ins. We have to really ramp up our security because this is not acceptable. Certainly not acceptable anywhere, not acceptable in Westmount. And I'm determined to do something about it.
Mary, I would just point to Lynne's point, and I guess to Michael's to some degree as well, this idea that, as much as you want to do something, there is the City of Montreal that's responsible here. So how much can you get done? And with respect to what's been done up until now, let's talk about this area. Has it been a failure?
Wow. Okay, no. The protests have had a very, very negative impact on our community. It has been very difficult for our residents, both Jewish and non-Jewish alike. And our current council, our mayor, outgoing mayor, has worked very hard with the MNA and the MP, and we need to fight for laws to change. We get our strong partnership with the current police and our public security. However, going forward, with the new mayor of Montreal, I do believe we can make a bigger difference, a bigger impact. As your mayor, I will work with the other mayors of the demerged cities and expect and demand more police presence if and when these protests continue on the regular rate they have been. They have impacted the people who live in the sector. They've impacted our merchants, our small businesses, and there's a cost to every resident and taxpayer on the island of Montreal for the oversight by the police. Something has to be done. I'm an advocate, an ally, and a friend of the Jewish community, and I will do more, and I will make sure that everyone in our streets in Westmount feels safe.
Bill?
So from the macro, we go to the micro. A lot of the comments I hear from Westmounters have to deal with 2 other issues, and that has to do with, in terms of cleanup, snow removal, and garbage pickup. People complaining because, in the latter instance, because it was before it was weekly, and for the last couple of years it's been every 2 weeks for 6 months of the year, and people want to know if that will change, because people have said they will even pay an additional amount to have weekly garbage pickup. Is that on the table, Mary?
So yes, on my campaign trail, garbage is a hot topic. And I'd like to just go back a little bit and explain how this came to be. We are in the middle of a 3-year contract. The contracts come, we analyze the options. We know we're one of the last municipalities in Quebec and Canada to have all 3 garbage services every week. They are very costly. The landfills are further, the trucks have to drive further, and it is a complicated, expensive service to provide. And we had to look at our options, and going forward, we thought the community needed to do better. We know the changes are coming. So we thought we'll start with 6 months. We'd like to educate the population as to why our composting rates were very low. There's a benefit to keeping the trucks off the street. There's a financial benefit, and I know change is hard. So after this winter, as your mayor, I will do an analysis of the garbage that we've saved going into the landfill, the money that we've saved, and we will look at what we can do in the next contract. Additionally, I would also like to provide a location when you have excess garbage, whether you're a young family, you're leaving on a trip, or you had a party, you have a place to bring the excess garbage when you have too much.
Michael?
Yes, so I have a different attitude. So, Mary, you're part of the administration that tells people you should be composting and you should be recycling. I take the opinion that Westmounters are responsible adults. They're composting what they can, they're recycling what they can, but they deserve to have garbage collection every week. And I say it in my promotional materials since day one. I'm restoring that as soon as possible after day one. We used to have garbage collection. Yeah, I've been living here for 35 years. We used to have it twice a week. Now it became once a week. So how do you do this? You mentioned there's a contract. I have a lot of experience negotiating contracts. You call up the company and you tell them, we're not reducing your work. We want to give you more money and more work. And they'll change it. And if not, to say, well, we'll hire another company to do every second week, and you won't get the contract next time. So they'll be very amenable. It doesn't matter that we have a contract with them. They will work towards it. And the other thing with the garbage is not for me. My wife and I, our kids are grown up. We don't really have that much garbage. But the vast majority of the people do not see this as a great service every second week. And it's not saving landfill things because they all tell me they're keeping the same amount of garbage, it's just every 2 weeks. The people have called into the city, young families. There are a lot of young, successful people here in Westmount. We want to attract more. And many of them, they have kids in the house. They have 3 kids. That creates a lot of garbage. So many of them have babies. They have diapers. They call the city. The city tells them, well, you could freeze the dirty diapers. Like, that sounds ridiculous to me. So to me, day one, I said, you don't have to do any kind of fancy analysis. We're going to restore garbage every week as soon as I can when becoming mayor, and I'll find the money. I'm an accountant. I know where to save money. I know where to find money.
Lynn,
Is that true about the freezing the
Yes,
diapers?
freezing the
Yes.
diapers. It's
That's the first I've ever heard of this.
Few people told me that.
Anyway,
Okay, I don't know, not from the
Lynn, I'd like
administration.
to
I
hear.
heard that too.
Okay, Lynn, let's talk
So-
about what you think.
One of the things, I agree in part with Michael, but one of the things is, was there any meaningful consultation? There was no meaningful consultation. It was a surprise. Yes, it was announced a month ahead, but it was a surprise, and that was very hard. And then all of a sudden we hear that there might be a place where people can go and drop off their garbage every second week. Well, that would have been nice at the beginning when this started, because at this point we see all the city garbage cans full. They now have signs on them, please do not dump. So clearly, this was not as well planned as it should have been. And when I become mayor, for sure, I will consult the population. I believe that, yes, we need to go to less garbage in the landfill. Yes, we need to compost more. We need to recycle more. But can we speak to the population? Can we explain what can be done and what cannot be done? That's what I would like. Consult the population.
I want to, because we're not going to have a lot of time left. We've covered a couple of the bigger topics, I think. I would ask you for something we have not talked about, what you'd like to bring up that perhaps you've heard from people. You said you've been out campaigning, knocking on doors. Anything, Lynn, why don't you start? What have you heard? What are they telling you?
I have to tell you that people feel they are not heard by Westmount, by the city council, and by the administration. They feel there is no transparency, and they really want to be heard, and I believe they have a point. I believe that there are some committees that have disappeared, and people have told me about those committees, and the sense of community that used to exist in Westmount has been slowly lost and slowly disintegrated. And people are also so upset about the roads and the sidewalks. I know right now a lot of construction is going on at the end of a session just before an election, and that's good. We all want the construction, but it would have been nice to have had it at the same time. The other thing is, we're not sure that we can see all the synergies that should be there, the saving of money, because right now, Claremont is being redone from Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, and it should have been all the way down to Sherbrooke, but it stops at Lorraine. That means that Claremont, between Lorraine and Sherbrooke, about 100 meters, 150 meters, will have to be redone next year, thereby inconveniencing everybody again and digging again. It would have been nice to have been done at the same time. Now, why wasn't? We've been told vaguely it's a question of cost. Is it a question of planning? Should there be a better planning and a better prioritization of how we do this? Yes. When I am mayor, I am certain, and I'm telling you, I will ensure that there is a municipal asset management plan that is made public and that the population is made aware of, because Westmounters feel that they've been left out of a lot of the decisions that have been made. And that is one of the issues that come back over and over again. They feel they have not been listened to. That's my
Okay, Michael, how about you? What do you hear? Or what have we not touched on that you'd like to
A lot of things. One key element is culture. And I think we have to inculcate in all the people, the councillor and the mayor, a culture of customer first. I was in the service business, and I believe people working for Westmount are in the service business. We work for the people. And that's a culture that can be changed. I come from that culture where it's people first and focusing on the customer, and I know I can do that here. The other thing with my campaign is I talk about listen, lead, and deliver. It starts with listening. I believe strongly that we have to listen to the employees. I bet you will get great ideas. And we have to listen to the people. I think we could do surveys from time to time on specific issues, find out really what the employees want. I think this is critical. I've heard so many complaints, as you say, about people not listening. They can't get through to the city. Nobody wants to talk to you today, so press 5, press 3, press 2, whatever it is. And they write in, they don't get an answer for a month. I have a very simple solution. This is not General Motors. It's a small city. It's a small community. Why can't we have a friendly person answer the phone in person, in French first, and then in English? And a policy such that if you're an employee and you get a voicemail, you have to answer within 2 hours, because that's how I was brought up, and that makes sense. And why can't we have a policy where you, if you write in something by mail, by email, you get a response. You must get a response in 48 hours. It may not be complete, but we received your complaint, your issue, and we're looking into it, and we'll get back to you. So these are important things, but I think one of the most important things, this is a democracy. We elect 8 council people, and that currently the way it's run, the council people don't have the authority they should. They are not allowed to talk to the employees, and they should have the right to talk to the employees over only the senior employees, the department heads, for those matters that they are responsible for. He who's in charge, or she who's in charge of roads, he or she who's in charge of recreation should be able to talk to the appropriate people, the heads of the department, so as to find out what's going on, to come up with better solutions, and bring them back to council, not to change things, to bring it back to council, which is the proper way. So this is a true democracy. You elect the people, and they don't have any authority now, which is completely not acceptable.
Mary, what do you say?
And I just want to add one more thing that I intend to do. I've spoken to a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and engineers, architects, skills that we don't necessarily have and need. And I will set up an advisory council of people who will work for free, who don't have any, will have zero authority, but they're very smart Westmounters, and they will advise the mayor, me, the council, and even help with the employees on a voluntary basis. And I think that they would work with our key employees to get better ideas for all of us.
Love the altruism, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to ask you, Mary, you've heard,
Yes.
these two people running against you suggest, and both saying the same thing about listening.
Right.
Right? There
I'm going to
are
address
people
that.
not listening, so
Yes.
let's address that.
I'd just like to quickly comment on my commissionerships and my relationship with the employees. I've been on the library committee, the sports and rec committee, the planning advisory committee, and many more. I have relationships with all the directors and many of the employees of the city, and I'm very grateful for that. And that gives me the strength and the ability to move forward quickly with all the issues ahead of us. So on listening, so on my campaign trail, yes, I've heard a lot about infrastructure, and I will get to that. I will do more, and I will do it faster, and I'll do it better. Listening. I know communications is a big issue for our residents, and I hear you, and I understand. We need to reach you where you are. You need to know when changes happen. We did learn a lot about our public consultations, about a road reconstruction with the PPU process, and we can definitely do better. So as your mayor, I will absolutely take that seriously. I want to build a culture where everyone in Westmount feels safe, feels proud of their city again, feels united, because I do genuinely believe we live in the best city in Canada and we can do better.
One of the points that Michael alluded to in passing was that there's a big French element here, a Francophone element. In years gone by, Westmount has always been thought of as a bastion for Anglo-Saxons, and that has been changing consistently, I mean, over the years. And I think the numbers will show that there's a huge, a much more significant Francophone population than before. And these stereotypes, though, still exist. Anyone who want to address that?
Do stereotypes still exist? I think stereotypes will always exist. Y a-t-il beaucoup de Français à Westmount? Je crois que oui. Is there a place for a mayor to do ambassadorship all over the province? Oui, je crois que nous devons parler à nos représentants, au provincial et au fédéral. Yes, I think we need to go out more, and I believe that I'm the mayor to speak to our MNAs, to speak to the federal government, to speak to the other municipalities in the province of Quebec, other municipalities who also, for instance, have give hydro electricity to their constituents, because we're not the only one, speaking to the other members of the agglomeration and across the province. So yes, I think it's essential that we represent Westmount as not a bastion of Anglo-Saxon money and stuff, but yes, we also have French. And I would just like to point out as well that Westmounters may be like such a rich and fantastic, but Westmounters are generous. Westmounters have funded so many things. They help fund this library, for instance. They help found a mission hall and the old brewery missions. So yes, there are stereotypes, but if you go right deep down, Westmounters are Francophones, they're Jewish, they're Anglo-Saxons, but they're also more and more Spanish, more and more diverse.
Right.
Yes.
Mary, you wanted to...
Well, oui, la ville de Westmount est une ville bilingue et la majorité de nos réunions sont en français. So I just want to let everybody know that we operate in both languages. Everything we do is in both languages, and I believe 30% of the population is roughly French-speaking.
Right.
Westmount has changed. Westmount is definitely more international. It has people from all over the world. We have a significant Jewish population that has increased over the years, and Westmount has evolved. And Westmount of the Anglo old ways is not the same anymore. And
I was just saying, it's not your misconception, it's the
Yes.
conception of the
Yeah.
public
Okay.
population at large. There's always, they make comparisons and it's always Westmount, the English place, but I'm just trying to say
yeah,
that's
it's an
not
evolving city.
Exactly.
I'm going to just, if I can, because we're going to have to wrap up, and I know we talked about this earlier, I'm going to give you each a minute if you can keep it relatively short. If you have a closing statement, this would be the time to do it. Michael, why don't we start with you?
So again, I say Westmount is at a crossroads. We have serious problems. Many of them are financial and management. I know how to get things done. I understand financial statements inside and out, budgeting. I know how to work with big groups of people to effectively get things done on time, on budget. There's so many things, like everybody talks about infrastructure. I know what has to be done. You have to have a complete assessment of everything that has to be done. And then, only then, you prepare a master plan. Nobody said that yet. We talk about the permitting process. 98 out of 100 people I speak to are furious with our permitting process. Yes, we have to respect our heritage. We cannot compromise. I understand that. But having said that, we're not customer focused. We're not helping our people. We're aggravating them for no reasons. Those are one of the things I'd look at. Again, if you have a focus and an understanding that we work for the people of Westmount, how our job every morning when we come to work is to make the lives of our Westmount residents better than it was yesterday. And if you think that way, everything goes accordingly. And a lot of the services we have will be improved. The employees are great people. They need guidance. They need some leadership and I can provide that leadership based on my 45 years experience working in the business world.
All right, Lynn, how about you?
Well, I can provide leadership experience based on my 20 years as ombudsman at the McGill University Health Center, making systemic recommendation, thereby making the MUHC taking recommendations and improving the quality of care and services for all patients and their families. I believe that we also have a tripartite system, as we do in the hospital, where we have the residents, we have the council, and we have the administration. And all three of them must work together, but two of them must remember that we are working for the citizens, and we need to hear what those citizens, the biggest concentration of knowledgeable people and experts possibly in Canada, in such a small city. We need to listen to them and take advantage of their knowledge and their expertise in order to bring our city back to place of pride.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. There's a very obvious choice in this race. There is one candidate at this table with experience in this particular municipality, the amazing city of Westmount. I have shown up for this city my entire life. I have volunteered in our sports programs. I have donated to the building of the new recreation center, and I've been a judge for the McIntyre competition long before I got into municipal politics. I grew up with public service in my family. I know this community. I know what the issues are. I know the people who work for the city. I'm in your stores. I'm in your parks. I'm in your homes. And I've showed up pretty much my whole life. So what I would like to say to you is I'm the councillor who has stepped forward, who would like to lead this city into the next chapter, into 2025, on board the many new councillors that will be voted in on November 2nd. And I look forward to being your next mayor. And I'm, again, the only one here with experience and has showed up before September 1st.
One last thing. The City of Montreal latest polls still show that the majority of people have no idea who to vote for, don't know who the candidates are, and they're number one. In Westmount, I hope that apathy isn't the same. Is your feeling or that people will come out and vote? You've all made yourself visible, I know, in the community, but hopefully they will make a decision based on knowing you people a little bit more. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you all, and good luck to all of you. Mary Gallery, Michael Stern, Lynne Casgrain, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for joining us on this edition of The Corner Booth. We'll see you again soon.